Welcome to Mila Times. The prisoner exchange between Hamas and Israel has officially begun under the terms of a ceasefire agreement. Hamas has handed over 7 Israeli prisoners to Israel, and these individuals have already arrived in Israel. You can view images of these 7 prisoners on screen. Meanwhile, Palestinian prisoners have been released from Israeli jails and are expected to reach the Gaza Strip shortly, where preparations for a grand welcome are underway. The ceasefire agreement, which was uncertain until the prisoner exchange was completed, is now confirmed. There were concerns that Israel might back out at the last moment, but the exchange has proceeded successfully from both sides. As part of the first phase of the ceasefire, Hamas transferred 7 Israeli prisoners to the International Committee of the Red Cross, which then handed them over to the Israeli army. These prisoners were transported to Tel Aviv and other parts of Israel via helicopter, where they are reuniting with their families. For the Israeli public, whose relatives and loved ones endured 2 years of captivity under Hamas, this moment is one of celebration and relief after a harrowing ordeal. In Gaza and other Palestinian territories, celebrations are also underway, with thousands taking to the streets to welcome the released Palestinian prisoners. Preparations have been made, with stages and chairs set up for a grand reception. You can see visuals of these arrangements on screen. Hamas had initially planned to hold a formal ceremony, as done previously, where released Israeli hostages would share their experiences of being treated well by Hamas and the Al-Qassam brigades during captivity. In past exchanges, released Israeli hostages praised Hamas for providing food, avoiding mistreatment, and emphasizing that their fight was not with civilians, but with the Israeli government, particularly Benjamin Netanyahu. They stated that Hamas's goal was to secure the release of Palestinian prisoners and end Israel's occupation, but the Israeli government was unwilling to negotiate. These statements created a positive image of Hamas in Western media, which Israel found unacceptable. As a result, Israel imposed a condition in this exchange that no such ceremonies or public feedback sessions would be allowed. Despite this, Hamas has recorded feedback from the released hostages, and videos of their experiences are expected to be released in the coming hours. In other significant news, U.S. President Donald Trump's plane has landed in Tel Aviv. Trump will personally meet and receive the released Israeli hostages at the designated location. He departed Washington on Sunday evening and arrived in Tel Aviv around 9:10 p.m. local time, where he was welcomed by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The purpose of Trump's visit is to ensure the ceasefire agreement between Hamas and Israel is finalized and upheld. Hamas's primary demand was for the U.S. to guarantee that Israel will not violate the ceasefire or launch further attacks on Gaza. Trump has assured this commitment, leading to his decision to visit Israel personally. Trump also praised Hamas in a statement published by Al Jazeera, commending their negotiation skills and resilience over the past 2 years. He noted that Hamas demonstrated bravery and competence both on the ground and at the negotiation table, a capability that should not be underestimated. Following his visit to Israel, Trump will travel to Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt, to attend a ceremony alongside Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi. During this event, the ceasefire agreement will be formally signed, stipulating that Israel will not launch further attacks on Gaza and that Palestinians will be allowed to live in peace. However, Hamas has refused to sign the agreement or participate in the ceremony, citing a clause requiring them to disarm. Hamas insists it will not agree to any deal that forces it to surrender its weapons. The issue of disarmament remains contentious. Israel demands that Hamas hand over its weapons to either the Israeli army or an international force, a condition Hamas has outright rejected. Hamas insists it will only transfer its weapons to a Palestinian group, such as the Palestinian Authority, and not to any external or international entity. This disagreement has been temporarily set aside for further discussion. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has announced that once all hostages are released and the bodies of deceased hostages are recovered, Israel will destroy all tunnels in Gaza to eliminate any future threats. Meanwhile, a BBC report revealed that the Israeli army has withdrawn from over 45% of Gaza's territory, which has now been taken over by Hamas officials and fighters in civilian clothing. Approximately 5,000 to 7,000 Hamas members have regained control of these areas to prevent Israeli agencies from inciting internal conflict or conspiring against Palestinian groups. Hamas is also overseeing the distribution of humanitarian aid and the prisoner exchange process in these regions. The Al-Qassam Brigades, Hamas's military wing, issued a statement claiming they forced Israel to negotiate. Israel's initial strategy was to use military pressure and violence to secure the release of hostages without concessions. However, Hamas's resilience forced Israel to the negotiation table, resulting in a deal where both sides release prisoners. The statement described this as a clear defeat for Israel, as it failed to achieve its goal of securing hostages through force alone. The Al-Qassam Brigades also highlighted that Israel's intelligence agencies, such as Mossad and Shin Bet, failed to locate the hostages despite extensive operations in Gaza, including demolishing mosques, schools, and hospitals. Currently, Hamas holds over 45 hostages, with 7 already released and 3 more scheduled for release today. An additional 10 will be freed in the next phase. The bodies of 25 to 30 deceased hostages, some held by Hamas and others buried under rubble or in tunnels, will be recovered later. The release of Palestinian prisoners has also begun, with celebrations ongoing in Gaza. However, Israel has refused or delayed the release of 7 key Palestinian prisoners, including Marwan al-Barghouti of Fatah, Ahmad Saad, and Ibrahim, among others affiliated with various Palestinian groups. Hamas insists on their release, while Israel prefers to release others instead. Approximately 17 to 18 Palestinian prisoners are set to be released today from Israeli jails and will be warmly welcomed in Khan Yunis. Hamas claims it has forced Israel to its knees, marking a significant victory. The names of the 7 released Israeli hostages are not disclosed, but you can view their images on screen. Stay tuned to Militimes for further updates. If you haven't subscribed to Militimes yet, please do so via the link in the description or scan the QR code to choose a plan starting at 99 Indian rupees. Enter your email, phone number, and name, then proceed to payment via UPI on PhonePe, Google Pay, or Paytm to become a special member.